Hey everyone, and welcome. So you want to learn React, right? Well, if you've looked around, you know things are always changing. It can be kind of confusing to know where to even start. So today we're going to cut through all that noise and build a really clear, modern roadmap for what you actually need to know. Let's get into it. I want you to think of this as a road trip with 4 major stops. First, we've got to get our gear together at the modern starting line. Then we'll learn the basic moves with your first building blocks. After that, and this is a big one, we'll teach our components how to actually remember stuff. And finally, we're going to make the professional leap into the really powerful concepts.
Okay, so first stop, the modern starting line. You wouldn't start a huge hike without the right boots, right? Well, same thing here. It all starts with setting up your development environment with the right tools for the job today.
And in this day and age, that means starting your project with Vite. Seriously, forget those older, slower tools that take forever to get going. Vite gives you a dev server that starts up, well, pretty much instantly. And it has this feature called Hot Module Replacement, or HMR, which is an absolute game changer. It means when you hit save on your code, you see the change in the browser immediately, without the page refreshing and losing what you were doing. It's all about moving fast.
Next piece of gear, Tailwind CSS. This is what's called a utility-first framework. All that really means is you get to style your components with these pre-made classes right inside your code. The best part? You're not jumping back and forth between your JavaScript and a separate CSS file anymore. It keeps you in the flow, letting you build and tweak designs way faster. All right, we are geared up and ready to go, so let's hit our second stop on the map and learn the fundamental movements, your first building blocks. This is where we get into the core language of React itself. You know, modern React really just comes down to 3 big ideas. First, functional components. These are literally just JavaScript functions that spit out a piece of your user interface. Second is JSX. This is what lets you write something that looks almost exactly like HTML, but right inside your JavaScript. And third, and this is a huge mindset shift, is the declarative UI. Instead of telling the browser how to do everything step by step, you just describe what you want the final result to look like. React handles the rest. And here, you can see how it all just clicks together so beautifully. This is a simple functional component. It uses JSX for the structure and those Tailwind classes we just talked about for the styling, all in one single, clean JavaScript file. This tight integration is exactly what makes developing in modern React feel so smooth and efficient. Now, up to this point, everything we've built is kind of static. It just shows stuff on the screen. Our third stop is probably the biggest leap for any new developer: making components remember. This is how we transform a boring, static page into a dynamic, interactive app that responds to users. So how in the world does a component remember anything? Like, how does it remember what a user is typing into a form? Well, the answer is a special tool, a React hook called useState. Think of it as that component's short-term memory. And whenever you update that memory, or what we call state, React is smart enough to automatically redraw just that piece of the UI to show the change. Okay, but what if your component needs to do something outside of itself? Like, say, fetch some data from a server across the internet. For that, we use another hook called uEffect. This hook is all about managing side effects, basically any work that isn't directly about drawing the UI. It is your component's lifeline to the outside world. And useEffect helps manage the component's life through 3 key phases. First up is mounting. This is code that runs just once, the very first time the component shows up. Then there's updating. This part can run again whenever a specific piece of data changes. And finally, unmounting. This gives us a chance to clean up after ourselves before the component disappears, which is absolutely crucial for preventing bugs and memory leaks. So useState is awesome for one component's memory. That's great. But what happens when lots of different components scattered all over your app need to know about the same piece of information? Think about something like a user's login status. How do you share that everywhere? And that very question brings us to our final stop on this journey, the professional leap. This is where we graduate from thinking about state inside a single component, local state, to managing it across our entire application, what we call global state. Honestly, getting this concept is what separates the beginners from the pros. The specific problem we're trying to fix has a name: prop drilling. Just imagine having to pass a piece of data down through 5, 6, maybe even 10 layers of components just to get it to where it needs to be. It gets messy fast, it's hard to follow, and it becomes an absolute nightmare to change later on. There has to be a better way, right? Oh, there is. And the solution is called Redux Toolkit, or RTK. It completely solves that prop drilling headache by creating a global state. It's basically one single central place, a single source of truth where all of your app's most important data lives. And now any component, anywhere, can access it directly without all that drilling.
Redux Toolkit keeps things organized with a few core ideas. You have the store, which is that central container for all your global data. You organize your logic into slices, which usually focus on one feature, like user profiles or a shopping cart. When something happens, you send out an action that just describes the event. And finally, a reducer is a function that hears that action and knows exactly how to update the state in the store.
So let's just boil it all down. When should you use what? Use state is perfect for local state, data that only one component really cares about. It's simple, it's easy, it's built right in. Redux Toolkit is the heavy hitter for global state, that complex data that's shared all over your application. Yeah, it's a bit more complex, but for big apps, it's incredibly powerful. Knowing when to reach for each tool is a massive professional skill. And there you have it. That is the modern roadmap to mastering React. We went all the way from just setting up our tools to managing complex app-wide data. You've seen the entire path from a single, simple component to what it takes to build a professional-grade application. So the only question left is, where are you going to build first?